Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as Mix, and today I want to show you guys a little bit of tips and tricks of what I like to do in terms of resampling my drums or drums with bass. So here I have some Underwater Rainbow bass and drums. So I'm going to play the bass for you guys real quick, and then I'll play the drums, and then we'll start messing with them. Alright, so here I have the Underwater Rainbow bass with the drums, and then just the bass by itself. I'm going to show you why it's not important, but it's still kind of cool to mess around with this stuff. So I'm going to copy one over by holding Control, also known as Alt Option. So that creates another extra copy of it, or you can just do Command C, Command V, or Control V, Control C, Control V, or even just like right click and hit duplicate. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to place these, I think these are these 8 chunks all over the gaff, all over the different clip placement. So I'll copy this over here. I like that little stutter right there, so I'm gonna take that out and mix match all of these different samples. So when you play it, it'll start to have a different rhythm to it. Depends on what you're going for. Like I like a lot of like snares and glitch hits and triplets on the hi-hat. So let's see how this sounds. Still a little too chunky for me, so I'm basically going to delete that, copy one over, and this time I'm only going to focus on the major hits, and I will make it a little bit more easier to hear. So I'm just basically putting one, I think it's a kick right behind the snares. So I kind of like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw on a compressor and a saturator. The reason why I'm throwing only these 2 components on is simple. When you compress something and then saturate it, it can get distorted. But with these drums, hold on. Okay, with these drums, it's easier to hear. Like I prepare all my drums inside of Reason, but I find that the drums I make in Ableton are lacking some. Like I'll show you just by gating some of the drums here. So I'm gonna throw on a gate onto this track as well. It chops up the drums to be sharp and very tackish. So I'm gonna compress the drums, lower the main volume, and then I'm going to saturate them and resample them. So since that's like very harsh, I'm going to turn down the attack and put the release up. And then, yeah, like I said, go over to like a audio lane and then resample it. So these tips and tricks that I'm giving you, hold on. Let me record this first and then I'll tell you what I'm doing with it. Okay, So this track that we have here, this normal track that I've recorded, this is going to be basically our drums. The reason why I wanted it faded and chopped like this is because the bass is really going to be the shining component. So I'm going to see what this sounds like just saturated by itself. And remove the gate, of course. That's a little bit different, but I'm going to put the saturator to default. Turn on the soft clip. I'm going to set it to sine wave. Put DC on and then throw it up 2.5. And then resample it. Okay, so now that we have this resampled, buffed up version of this bass, I'm going to play this again, but set the saturator parameters a little bit differently, and as well as the compressor. Because now this is a little bit saturated, I want to make it like really saturated so we can use it for more of the bass. So that at 9.71 should give it enough bass. So let's resample this and then I'll show you the cool stuff with it. So now that I have that copied, I'm going to replace this. And then what we're going to do with this is throw on a sidechain from our third audio here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it up to a new audio track, and I'm going to basically play this on 1/4. So every fourths I'm going to put a hit, and now that I have 4, I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate. You can do Control D to duplicate as well. So now that I have this external kick along, I'm also going to mute it as well, because I want to play the full thing with you guys. So now when I take this and duplicate it across and do the EQ, the audio is coming from our 5th track. And now I'm going to play that alongside with this. So that's kind of the premise of the bass. But like I said, we're only going to use this for sub. So I'm going to throw on an EQ3 for it. And I want to take off the mids and highs. I want that kick to have more bass. So I'm going to throw on a corpus and a corpus preset. If I can get this to open here in a second. The corpus preset adds a lot of the lower end towards the bass. So open chorus, and it should be some called like sub kick maker. Perfect. Throw down the MIDI. I'm sorry, on channel number 5. Mute that again, and then we're gonna throw the bass onto another track underneath it, and we're gonna mute it for right now, because we're going to make this a little bit weirder and then chop that up. That just sounds like a little bit too much for me. So now what I'm going to do with this final underwater rainbow bass is I'm going to copy one of the saturated tracks underneath, and I'm going to throw on, before I do that, I want to throw on an auto filter onto the kicks. They're just sounding a little bit too much, and bring that to like 41.7 hertz. Just because like the lower ends will start to mess with each other and it just won't sound right. So I'm going to throw on a grain delay onto the last track, and I'm going to turn up the spray a little bit, and I'm going to set the pitch to -1. Let's see how this sounds now, this saturated bass. That doesn't sound too right to me, so I'm actually going to take off the grain delay. It's all about experimenting, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to throw on an erosion, and then a redux, and then finally a resonator. And for the resonator, I want to take a preset. It should be called Berlin. Berlin is a nice preset. And I'm going to take the sine wave all the way down as far as it can go, and I'll turn up the amount by 1.25. And for the reduction, I'm going to turn this on soft, and I want to set it to about 3. I want to take off the decay a lot, so that way we get more stabs. I just basically turned up the dry wet so that way we'd only hear resonators. And I'm going to turn on the filter. This is going to be a high pass filter. And I'm basically just going to copy this saturated version over again. So now what I'm going to do is, now that we have this like saturated weird version, I'm going to play that alongside with the saturated version that has the side compressor on it. So now we have like more of organic like house. And if I play the kick along with it. It doesn't sound too great, but I just want to show you guys the experimentation you can do with one clip. I'm sure you have experimentations of your own, but this is just my version of a take on one of the samples I took from my song and Reason that I've been showing you guys over the week. So next tutorial, I'm going to actually show you guys how to create like a super grindy synth as a clip itself. So I'm going to show you how to create the instrument, and then I'm going to show you how to create the sounds for the instrument we're going to make. So the instrument is going to be like a fat bass, like rah, and then we're going to take that, import it in Ableton, saturate it up, export it, re-import that into Reason, and then use like a nano sampler to reshape it. So thanks for following me, guys. It really helps out a lot. If you guys want me to focus on a particular tutorial, the more likes you give it, the more I pay attention to it. And likes, I don't get paid for likes. I don't get paid at all. I just do these for fun. But the likes actually let me know what you want, in case you just don't want to comment. Anyways, thanks for following me, and check you guys out later.